Okay, so you might have seen my audio effects chain preset video and it's got some good response. So I thought I'd do a second video where this time I've actually created the chains for instruments in Ableton. So that's so you can switch between MIDI instruments such as synths or drum machines. In the case that I've got here, I've got drum racks which have been loaded up, and I'm going to use those to switch between. But this can be used in both a practical application of live and also in the studio when you're writing. So the application that I'm going to show you first is live music. So for example, if I take this chain here and I duplicate this chain, and that'll copy across in a second. So here we've got some presets already preloaded. We've got some drums, but I'm going to just take these out and replace them in a second with some synths. So if we, for instance, were playing live and we needed a lot of different synth patches, we could use this approach to do that. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to go down to the effects and I'm just going to select some sounds. Nice. I'm just going to pick a few sounds to just show you the power of what this can do. So you'll notice when you drag them in, if you've seen the previous video, I said it needs to be within this here where it says drop an instrument or sample here, and the reason for that is because I've mapped this bypass, so when you switch the preset, the bypasses switch over without any issue. Okay, so cool. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to just create a new MIDI track, just slide that MIDI track into here. I'm not going to bother renaming it because we're not going to stay here for ages. I'm going to turn that to monitor to in, and I'm going to select keyboard. I'm just going to use my keyboard. So what you see I've done here is I've routed the MIDI that's coming in from my keyboard. Let me just mute that. So MIDI coming from my keyboard, I'm routing that into the instrument rack here, like so. Okay, so to start with, I'm playing this sound, a soft chord. Now what I've done here is I've also mapped my keyboard like so. So what I've done here is I've actually mapped the keyboard here, my computer keyboard, to the different presets up to 5. So now if I press a different button, you'll notice that the instrument changes in the rack like so. So in order to do that now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press a note on my keyboard. So you see that this synth's playing, and then if I press 2, it'll be bypassed and a different sound has been selected, so on as so forth. But you'll also bear in mind that the other presets that you were having are now being bypassed. So every time you switch preset, it's switching preset, it's unmuting the current channel that you're going to use, it's muting the old channel that was unmuted, and now it's also bypassing the instruments in that preset that you've just used, which is keeping our CPU relatively low compared to other. I mean, that's gone up to 10. If we ran all of these plugins by themselves and we were just using the key selector to switch between each sound, we'd be ramping the CPU up quite dramatically. So that's something that you can do for live. And also what I'll say now is as well, if you want to, because we're using instrument racks, you can also drag in audio effects into those chains. So if you just want an echo on this and you only want the echo for this sound, you can do that. And when you change preset, the echo is bypassed with the instrument, like so. And just to prove that it is there and working, no echo, echo, and then when I change preset, the echo is also bypassed, which is really great. Another thing that's able to be done with this as well, which I made sure, is if you go into the instrument rack where your instruments are, you can also now add more chains. So if you want certain sound to play at a certain octave, I'm not going to go into great detail about this, but Ableton allows you to split your notes between different octaves, so you can have different sounds being played over different octaves. If you just want to have a certain sound being played over this octave, so C4 for example, what you can do is you can just drag in another sound into there, and then when you play and I go up the octave, see, it plays that sound instead of that sound. So then you can stack up sounds as well if you really want to. So, and that gives you lots of potential for doing lots of very complicated and powerful things in Ableton live without sucking up that precious CPU. And believe me, I've been there trying to use as little CPU as possible and use the potential of Ableton, but I had dropouts, I've had crashes, and I've really been trying to work hard for the last few years trying to work out the best way of doing it, and I think this is possibly the best way that I found so far to do that. So that's live. Over here I've now got some drum racks. So I'm just going to go in and program some drums. Okay, so now I've programmed in that MIDI. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to press 1. And so on and so forth. So what you can use this for when you're writing is you could load 16 of your favorite presets into a chain. So it could be drum racks, it could be synths, it could be wavetable, it could be tension, it could be simpler, it could be sampler, it could be anything, and you can load these in. And then what this allows you to do is when you're writing, you can just go for 1. And you can go through and basically curate those sounds and make it work for you. And it's a really great way. So you could basically just make a load of these different presets and that will work. So preset 1 on here, and then I'm going to... and so on and so forth. So if these were synths, you'd be able to stack synths on top of each other and work it that way. And then you can go through and select which preset you want, but you can use the clip launching in order to do the preset changes. So you're basically just gliding through your own custom bank of sounds that you always use, and you can pick and choose without having to keep recalling the same instruments that you're always going to use. Instead, you can stick them all into a chain, and then when you come to write, instead of having to drag everything out the browser, find them all, you can just simply load them in, go through and seamlessly go through each preset until you find one that you like. And then you can save it as a template, and then you can always go back to it. So what you could have is a template with 8, 9, 10, how many instruments you want with these custom chains. Time you come to write, you'll always have these instruments open and available to you already good to go, so you can just get straight away and write without having to go through and search the browser for all your favorite sounds. And this is great because this will also work with the audio effects rack presets that I gave away, and so you're able to go not only and have your presets recalled for your instruments, but you could also have your favorite chains recalled for your effects. So you could have this kind of supercharged Ableton workflow that means that you're able to go in, select the presets that you want for everything, and it'll speed up your workflow endlessly. So let me know if you've tried it and it works for you. And also send it to your friends if they're Ableton users and looking for a solution like this. Let's get everybody using it. And by all means, if you need anything or you want anything more, reach out to me and I can see what I can do. But for now, I hope you enjoy this and I look forward to seeing what you do with it. Until the next one, goodbye.